Well, shall we get this over with?
Yes, we shall.
Sounds good.
All right, let's see if stuff works tonight.
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
And we hope you've enjoyed the rolls this season because they're delicious. Tyler, have you enjoyed the rolls this season?
If by roles you mean our conversation about one of our favorite shows, then yes.
Welcome back, good-looking people. This is Dads Meet World, your weekly deep dive into the world of Boy Meets World, featuring your two favorite dads as we go episode by episode and explore this favorite 90s show from the world and the eyes of two dads. I am this week's dad number one, your pod daddy, Brett, joined by...
I'm Tyler. Just with you step by step, every step of the way, Brett.
Pod Daddy number two. I'm bringing it back. Hashtag who's your pod daddy?
Nice.
How are things going for you, Tyler? What's new? What's hot? What's happening?
That's an interesting question. Let's go with complicated sleep schedule. Because the two different jobs I work, one is a third shift and the other one is a ministry job, so I am literally all over the place. So 2 days, Wednesday I was up all day until I passed out finally in the evening. Wednesday or Friday, I was productive around the house instead of going to sleep whenever I was supposed to. So, yeah. There's I don't know what show it's from, but or a movie, but the guy gets on a microphone and says, "I'm feeling really weird." That's how I feel.
Feeling kind of woozy.
Basically. So, yeah, it's a weird one tonight, that's for sure.
All right.
How about you, Britt?
We could get some fun, Dad, from Tyler. I'm doing all right over here. We got just came back from a 70th birthday party for one of Kelly's aunts, so that was fun. Just
Nice.
It's a little surprise party, and that was a good time. And
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's been a busy week for us. Cast list went up for the spring musical, which is Footloose. So,
Ooh.
yeah, Toby's in the adult chorus. Abby got cast. I forget the name that she's playing, but she'll be playing a role. So
She's got a name, and Toby's a part of the ensemble?
yes, part of the ensemble.
Nice.
So they'll both be on stage come late April, early May, one of those two. I forget when. So yeah, busy week around here for us.
Oh, I believe it.
Yes. So
I do believe it.
what do you say we dive right into the season finale of season 3?
Or I say let's dive it, baby.
Dive it, baby. There we go. Well, let's look at the 22nd episode of season 3 this week, the season finale, last episode of the season, Brother. After learning about all of his friends' plans for the summer, Cory becomes worried about the prospects of spending the entire break by himself. This episode was written by Mark Blutman and Howard Busgang, directed by Jeff McCracken, originally aired May 17th, 1996, and currently enjoys an 8.2 IMDb rating. Now, let's take it one more time to America's favorite game show,
Vast emotional damage.
Vast Emotional Damage is brought to you by No Name Brand Pop, because we couldn't get anyone to sponsor us. Now, last week's episode had 12.2 million viewers tune in to see. Tyler, how many million people do you think tuned in to see the season finale, Brother Brother?
I mean, all of the ratings so far have been super low, so let's go with, I don't know, 13.
13 is your guess? You would actually lose the showcase. We had an identical rating, 12.2. Yes.
You know what,
Brother
the
pulls in-
90s... You know what, I'm going to retroactively yell from 30 years into the future, the 90s, you've let us down. I don't know what was going on at this time. I don't care what important show is on, or if it's because of NBA playoffs or whatever, but you've let us down. Gosh, I feel like you need to get that little clip of that kid from season 4 going, they hate it, they're trying to kill it. Well, did they do anything wrong?
No, they're just trying to kill it. Yeah. We'll get there, good-looking people. Well, let's dive right in, because it's the last day of school and Eric is cleaning out his locker. And we're going to have Eli and Mr. Turner are going to come over and give him some stuff back, including his giant underpants and his Feeny puppet. Yes, I love the Feeny puppet.
You would.
I do, Mr. Matthews. Detention, Mr. Matthews. And, of course, when they walk away, this is sad, because this is Eli's last episode, and he has, like, one whole line.
He does almost nothing in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, there's a few episodes ago, whenever he's like, with the whole Turner potentially adopting Sean and him talking with Turner, like, that felt like the end to his character. And I almost said, like, we should give a salute to Mr. Williams here. But no, he shows up at this episode. But there's nothing about his character in a farewell. Like, at least Turner shows up next season. But Eli is just done.
Yeah.
So, just this awkward goodbye.
Yeah, it's very anticlimactic for his one season arc to just show up here, and then we'll see him once more in this episode. But yeah, this episode's it for Eli. So hope you guys enjoyed him, good-looking people. I did when we got to have him.
Griff had a better send-off than this.
I know.
At least they made an excuse for why they no longer see, like, Joey.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But we will never hear about Mr. Williams ever again.
No, it's almost like he was never part of the show. It's literally like all of his friends from the death chair. Like, those friendships just never were.
Yep.
Or even the nerd seats.
The
all
nerd
of Tanya's
table.
friends. Mm-hmm. They just disappear and they're never talked about again.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, Eli and John leave, and Eric's playing with his Feeny puppet, and the real Mr. Feeny comes by and throws some sass at Eric.
What does he say? Hold on. What are you doing with that ridiculous thing? It's just a dummy. I'm not talking to you.
I love it. And
apparently
Eric
he's been
reveals...
rejected by Penn State and BU. So now
Yes.
he's left with his real first choice, which was north
Southwestern San Diego State University.
Yeah.
Good old
There-
NSWSDSU.
Yeah. I mean, good-looking people. There is a San Diego State. That's it, though.
There is no North Southwestern San Diego State University.
Uh-huh. There's no need for a deep dive. There is a San Diego State. I know that for a fact. But there is not a North Southwest San Diego State.
There is a Northwestern. There is a
Yes,
San Diego
there is
State.
Northwestern. I'm sure there's even a Southwestern, but there's no North Southwestern San Diego State.
No, I used to live on a southeast street or an east-south street, but no. This is
I remember
entirely
you lived
made
there.
up for the world of Boy Meets World.
Completely.
Yes.
It's goodbye,
So-
Philadelphia.
Goodbye, Philadelphia, because Eric's going to travel by car to see all 50 states.
Yep.
Apparently, he's to see Hawaii, he's going to aim for China, and when he gets there, hang a Yui.
Yeah. Okay, so do you think he's just making a joke to be funny, or does he think he can actually drive to Hawaii?
I'm hoping he's making a joke and he realizes he can't. I'm hoping he realizes in that moment. I'm going to headcanon this and say he's going to realize in the moment that he got called on. You can't really drive to all 50 states, and he's going to make a joke about it.
Yeah. I think he's making a joke about it as well, because, I mean, you can technically drive to Alaska. It's going to take you a while, and you got to go through another country to get there.
Yeah, you're
But,
not going to
yeah,
go to Alaska as part of your 49 states during the summer.
It's going to be a lot to try to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will tell you, fun fact about us, we keep saying if we ever win the lottery, which is never going to happen, but that's probably one of the things we'd want to do is go travel all 50 states. Because why not, Brett?
Exactly. You got to see this great country.
Yeah. So, good looking people, if you ever see that our production gets a lot more improved, that's why.
We're going to have Tyler zooming in from Alaska on the cruise
Just
ship.
having me green screened all the time, blurry video.
So we're going to hop over to Cory and Topanga, who are back together. Big kiss. Back together.
Back together.
Big kiss. Back together. Big kiss. And we find out Topanga's going to spend all summer at an all-girls camp. Cory is having a hard time with this because it's the summer of their 15th year, and they're back together. It's a very important time, their summer of their 15th year.
Yes, the
And,
most romantic of all the years.
Oh, yes. But,
Back
you
together,
know, he's
muchacho.
gonna... Yes, yes. In Spanish, it's back together, muchacha. Yes, but Topanga convinces him it's going to be okay because they'll have their 16th summer together. And Cory's going to sit down a little bit dejected, and Eric's going to try to cheer Cory up. And we're going to get Eric's attempt here in a little clip.
What's the matter, Mr. Matthews? You seem a little down. Perhaps some more history homework would cheer you up?
Knock it off, Eric. You know I'm not a big fan of your feeny puppet.
Come on, Core. I mean, I thought everything was great now that you and Topanga are back together. Big kiss. Back together. Big kiss.
Hey. Stay out of my personal life.
Hey, come on, Corey. I mean, Topanga's leaving for the summer, and I'm sorry, but that's got nothing to do with me. I got 1 week left here. Let's make it great. Just like old times.
What old times?
Now, Brett, this comes to my theory about the dream bothering him.
Okay.
Because it's an immediate annoyance of anything he's doing. Like, his brother is trying to have fun with him, trying to cheer him up and saying, hey, let's make this a great week, you and me, essentially. And he's just like, 15 years, and now you want to hang out with me? Now you want to do something with me? Is what is the vibe that you're getting, you know? Like, he is angsty and frustrated just immediately. Now, I mean, he is upset because his girlfriend, and he's going to learn in just a few minutes that his best friend are departing for the summer, and he's not going to see them. But, you know, he is annoyed already with Eric, and no matter what Eric was going to say, it was going to upset him.
Exactly. Yeah, and we've seen some times this, especially this season, where Eric and Cory did do things together where there was some real bonding.
Yeah.
And Cory is very quick to dismiss that, I'll say.
He is.
Yeah, he's very, very quick to dismiss that in all of this. But that's the hook for our episode. Eric is getting ready to leave. He wants to, do things like the old days. He wants to spend some time with Cory this week and build some lasting memories. And Cory is just thinking, what old days? We haven't had any good old days.
And Eric has a good attitude about this. Like, he wants to
does.
have
He's very positive.
one
He
last
wants
final week with his family and spending time with them, and his
'Cause
brother
who are
immediately
they?
ruins it.
The
The
Matthews,
brothers. Yes, but then we learn now that Sean is also going to be leaving.
Yes, Sean and
But we
Cory are
learned
playing
this-
some basketball.
Cory just turns around, it scares Sean, and he shoots the basketball, and it goes in. And you're looking at their feet, Brett, and they're wearing dress shoes.
Yeah. I got nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, they're either dress shoes or like a boot, but like they're wearing shoes you should not be playing basketball in.
Yeah. Sean is definitely a boot guy.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's like the time that me and my buddies played basketball in flip-flops, because why not? So none of us were jumping.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at a screen cap right now. Sean is definitely in boots. 100%. And Cory is Cory might be in some tennis shoes that are really clunky.
I don't
But
know.
Sean is definitely in some boots with a small heel.
I mean, he could be wearing some flats, I guess.
Could be. But yeah, Sean is definitely not dressed for basketball at all. But yeah,
they're at
Sean
the
is
park.
yeah, they're at the park. Somewhere we've not seen them before, so it's kind of a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
And Sean had told Cory he was going to be staying home all summer with his dad, but apparently he's traveling. And that's the beauty of a mobile home, because wherever you are, you're home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
Cory
fun
says
little.
he's fine.
Yes, he's fine. There's fun little visual gag where he's going to sit by a lady feeding the pigeons. She's going to feed him some bread. And then we're going to go to the kitchen with the Matthews. And Cory is revealing his summer plans. He's going to go spend his summer at the Olympic Village in Atlanta. Which very quickly is shot down. For good reason. And Alan and Amy are trying to get Cory excited about spending the week with Eric, since it's his last week home. And there's some tension between Cory and Eric. And Cory is he's recalling all these times that Eric cast him aside for girls, specifically. Rides to school, hanging out and doing stuff together. Oh no, this girl wants a ride, or this girl wants a date, or whatnot. And Eric kind of storms out. He's not going to stand around and take this. And Alan and Amy try to smooth things over, find out what's going on. And Cory is quick to tell them, "You never sent me to camp," which they're very quick to shoot down. They did. Cory sent them letters that they were performing medical experiments on him every day.
Mm-hmm.
But Amy tries to reassure him that things will work out for the best. She believes that. And hold on to that, good-looking people, because that will come back. Yeah. But Cory keeps looking for reasons to argue. He's going to go upstairs, and he's actually going to apologize to Eric. He goes up with the intention of apologizing.
Okay, but I'm going to stop you there for a moment, Brad, because what you said is so accurate. He is looking for a fight.
He is.
Continue.
He is. He goes up, and he goes up to apologize, but he's looking for a reason to fight. Because Eric is packing, and he's got his bed covered, and he's got his desk covered, and there's one sock on Cory's bed. And Cory is looking
just
at that.
A mess, okay?
It is a huge mess. He did not leave his bed like that this morning.
Nope.
And
just so disrespectful.
There's this great discussion between Cory and Eric that I want to share.
Look, Cory, I know your summer's off to a rough start and everything, but look at the good. I'm going to be out of here in a week, and you're going to have the entire room to yourself.
I've always had this room to myself.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on, Eric. The way you treat me and you gotta ask? You ignore me.
We do stuff together.
Yeah, only when you're stuck. I mean, you never actually did anything with me because you wanted to.
What am I supposed to say to that, Cory? I mean, you're 3 years younger than me. Yeah, I have my own friends.
Yeah? And where are your friends gonna be next year? I mean, you guys will all be off at different colleges, but I'll still be your brother, Eric.
You're right, Cory. I'm a terrible brother. But in a week, I'm going to be gone, and I'm going to be the best brother you've ever had.
And so that's what Cory wants to boil everything down to, that he's been ignored by Eric all this time, that Eric only gives him attention when he's stuck with him.
He's not wrong.
Not entirely, no.
I mean, he could have had this conversation months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like everything's coming to a head. He's had a realization about their relationship, and now he's just stewing over, and it's just all boiling out now.
Yeah, and this is, good-looking people. There's always there's a time for everything. There's a time for a conversation like this, and the opportune time for a conversation like this is not right when the person you're trying to talk to about it is getting ready to leave.
Well,
because they're not the most receptive to it then.
No, and the other thing too is that, like, if you feel you need to have a conversation with someone when you're emotionally not in a good place and you know it's an emotional conversation, that's also not the time to have those conversations.
Yes, you are what's known as emotionally compromised. You're not going to be thinking clearly. You're not going to be responding clearly. You're not going to be at a level head area where you need to be to have a productive conversation.
Yeah. Well, for my wife and I, when we start to have moments where we know we're heading towards a actual disagreement / fight, we will kind of separate from each other a little bit, both by choice, because we don't want to say something we're going to regret, and we don't want to say something in the heat of what's happening. Now, we don't always have the time and ability to be able to do that because of children, but we will give each other a little bit of space, and it doesn't take long for one of us to come back and say, wow, I didn't realize, but I'm dealing with something right now, and I'm sorry I took it out on you, and that wasn't fair of me to say what I said, and can we just talk about what happened, and can we hug it out? Because a lot of times we notice that, like, when we're bickering with each other and going at it, we're just tired and exhausted and need a break, and we just happen to do one thing that annoyed the other person and made it much bigger than it should have been. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been working a lot with our kids because we have two teenagers in the house, and we've been working with them a lot on having productive conversations when you're not emotionally raw, when you're not in that state where you are going to be making those kinds of statements where you're driven by your emotions. And if you need a third party and a neutral party that will sit in and help guide the conversation, help steer it, which is what Cory and Eric could have used here very easily. We've been there to help them do that. We've mediated a handful of things recently. We've been there to walk through some disagreements and some hurt and some reconciliation. As with any teenagers who live together, there's going to be heads that butt together about all kinds of different things. And so Cory and Eric could have benefited from some conflict resolution in this. But this argument devolves into a physical altercation where Eric throws Cory onto the bed and they're wrestling, and Alan and Amy have to break it up. And Eric decides in the moment that he's going to leave for his trip early. Instead of staying around for the week, he's going to leave tomorrow. And
well,
we're gonna
in fairness to him, why does he want to have to hear for a few more days about how he's abandoning his brother and how he's ruining his brother's life? Like,
I don't
Cory
blame his decision.
Yeah. No, it's very much fair. On the same token, for Cory, why does he want to hear for another week about how, well, we're going to miss you, Eric, and this is going to be a good week, and we're going to make the best of this week possible because it's the last time the five of us are all going to be together. You know, that's the emotions you have when it's the first one, quote unquote, leaving to go to college. And I remember my family having those same vibes before my brother went off to school, of just like, no, it's not going to be the five of us all together again. But, you know, in fairness, also, my brother was always going off to places and staying the night at other people's houses. So, like, very rarely were we doing stuff, the five of us, you know, by the time he was a senior. And, you know, he had a car, so he was always on the road somewhere doing something. Just, I felt a lot for Cory this go around, because I always do. But this time also I felt for Amy and Alan, and I felt for Eric as well. So just for me, this is a very personal and complicated episode for me to watch, is the best way I'll put it. Good looking people.
It's got a lot of threads to it. Yeah, so we're gonna come back into the living room. It's tough on everyone with Eric leaving. Alan and Amy are having a rough time, just like we just mentioned. Everyone's having a hard time, and you know, they have a great conversation. And ultimately, Eric agrees that, because Alan and Amy share that, no, you can't leave yet for two reasons. One, you haven't gotten your acceptance letter to college yet, because that's really, this trip is a celebration for graduation and to do something great before you go to college. You haven't gotten the acceptance letter yet, and we have a goodbye dinner scheduled. So Eric agrees, if you can move the goodbye dinner, I'll stay an extra day. And Alan lays some hard love on him. Take the extra day and figure out what's bothering your brother. And Eric comes back with, "I've shared the room for 15 years, and I have no idea what's bothering him." And Alan's response is perfect. "Maybe that's your answer."
Mm-hmm. No, I love this moment because they try first just to reason with him of, hey, we're your parents and we're telling you you're not making this choice because you're angry, and you're scared, so you're not doing that. But he pushes back, and I do think he does bring up good concern that he has, that he is worried, he is concerned, and for him, if he could start his trip earlier, it would relieve some of his tension, which is fair. Like, he's ready to move on, and he probably was going to stay only a week extra to be nice to his family, to have one last week with everybody, and if this is the way he's going to be treated, then he's ready to go. I do hate that, he brings up laundry, and I know it's a joke, but like the audience reacts way too well to it being a joke. It's one of the few problems I have with this show where someone does bring up a concern of like, I don't know how to do this, where it's as simple as, I know you have to do colors, I know you need to do whites, but what happens when you have both a dark and a white together? How do you do that? I don't know. And I think that is a genuine concern he has. His mom has probably done his laundry his whole life, so now he's like, I'm going to be responsible for my own laundry? I don't know how to do that. And the audience giggles about it, but he's kind of having this emotional moment, It honestly reminds me of when there's a moment in The Big Bang Theory when Sheldon has an emotional breakdown moment, and the audience laughs, and I'm like, gosh, this laugh in this moment kind of kills the dramaticness of his reaction, So I almost feel like sometimes these shows need to accept that there doesn't need to be a joke, and even if the audience thinks it's a joke, the laugh needs to be not there, because it's not about the laugh. It's about the deep concern this character has for the situation. So yeah, Brett, you think you could move a special dinner that you planned for your child a week ahead?
I think it'd be very difficult, especially since you had rented out a room in a restaurant, and that you're going to have to see if they'll work with you there. But it is Chubby's.
Yeah.
I mean,
the magical land of Chubby's, that it is everything they need it to be.
It is. One night it's a sock hop with a cover charge. The next night you're renting out a special room with the party room. Yeah. I mean,
they make it seem like there's more to Chubby's than just the underground area, although that's the area that they use most often. So
yeah. I mean, they were able to rent out the entire restaurant once, so
yeah.
They've got some pull with Chubby.
Yeah. Maybe he's an old friend.
Maybe. But if in real world, if I had a reservation with a party room, I'd have to make some different plans entirely to make it happen.
Oh yeah. Real world, that plan is happening at your house.
Yeah. Yeah, real world, it ain't happening at Chubby's. Maybe they had a different plan and Chubby's was their backup.
Maybe. Well, and I keep thinking about this whole trip that they have, that he's doing, and I have to think that Alan and Amy are the ones that are footing the bill for most of this trip. Like, I'm sure Eric saves some money up, but there's no way as an 18-year-old you can afford to travel all over the country, even in 2 months.
No,
in the
especially
90s.
in Lucille, who he starts with pliers.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely being financed largely by Alan and Amy.
Yeah. Um, I I like how they make it clear at the party that, Eric is happy that the people that care about him are there, and Sean and Topanga.
Yeah, I think it's nice that Sean and Topanga were there for his brother. That with everything's going on, it's nice that were invited for Cory. And we get a nice speech from Feeney about the beginning of the year. It was a question of whether or not he'd even graduate, but here he is. And
Morgan better suck it up
Eric's-
because he's gonna be her principal someday.
I know, it's a great moment.
Oh,
No, he's going to be your principal someday. Oh no. But he won't be her 6th grade teacher.
Nope. Yeah.
Mr.
I like how he says that he's proud of him, and
Yeah.
he did
And
a
he
good
pulled
job.
his diploma and had it framed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal
And he lets Eric hug him
for a short second.
for a short second, yes. But he lets him do it. And this is the last time we will see Eli Williams. Alex stays there on camera.
Doesn't even say anything.
No lines, no great job. We loved having you and loved seeing your passion or your creativity and excuses for, not even a joke from Alex in this scene. It's such a waste.
Well, thank you, Eli. We salute you for your
Thank you
service.
for your service. You brought a lot of great stuff to season 3. Wish they would have
did.
given you a stronger send-off.
Or a lot more stronger of anything.
Yeah. Well, Cory does eventually get up to give a goodbye, or at least a speech for Eric, and I did clip this.
This
All right,
this
here we
speech reminds me, as you're getting it ready, reminds me of when you are at a wedding and the best man or the maid of honor gets up and you're looking at them like you're like about to fall over. Should you be giving a speech? And then they just nonsense comes out of their mouth and you're like, someone take the microphone away from them.
Yeah.
Hang on, I do have a toast to make. Attention, everybody. To my brother Eric, who's moving out. And not just for 4 years, probably forever. And I don't even know him. And now I probably never will. 15 years in the same room, Eric. 15 years. Goodbye. I hope you have a nice life. I really do. I'm sorry, everyone.
So I think this is a good opportunity, Brett, for me to bring up a little bit of something, if that's okay.
Certainly.
So I am... I've always related to Cory because I have an older brother, 3 years older than me, just like Cory. Later on in life, I got a sister, about 7 years younger than me. So again, really relate to Cory and the dynamics at work. And when my brother went off to school, I remember really having complicated emotions because I was never the first option for my brother spending time with. And, I think in his mind, hanging out with me was the same as hanging out with the whole family. And he just didn't really want to do that. And as I got older, I understood that more. I still understand that, but so just these weird feelings and emotions you end up having as your older sibling who you wished you knew better, got along with better, is about to leave. And I remember I wasn't going to be there whenever he left because I had football. And so I wrote him a letter, and I tucked it into all of his stuff. And I have no idea if he read it. I have no idea because he never said anything to me about it. But I just, said, hey, I just want you to know I'm proud of you and I love you and I hope for everything for the best for you, and I'm sorry if I embarrassed you at any point, and hopefully someday we can be better we can actually be friends. So and we've had random conversations here and there, and before I got married, I knew I was able to reach out to him and talk to him if I was in a bad spot, and but we just, for whatever reason, we've never, even as adults, been able to figure out how to relate to each other and be closer. And it is still weird and awkward doing family things and knowing that we don't have a strong relationship, and it breaks my heart. But there's also this part of me that has to accept that this is just kind of the way it's going to be. The only difference for me and Cory is he lives in a TV show where the writers can give them moments where they are friends and get to spend time together. And in preparation for this episode, I did watch a few seasons ahead, to the last season, when Eric is the one who is left behind by Cory, Eric is the one that's not appreciated by Cory and is taken advantage of by Cory. And just seeing those different dynamics of into play, of Cory choosing his friends, his wife over his brother. And so I love that the show is able to do that with this, of showing the complications that can be there and the unsaid things between brothers that don't often get said in real life. Actually, as we were watching the episode, Sarah looked at me and said, I don't think I've ever seen this episode before, because I would remember if there was a fight at a garage sale. And I said, well, honey, this show has been on since the 90s, so I feel like at some point you have had to have seen this episode. Just, no, I would remember if I'd watched that. So, good-looking people, if you've have no idea what I'm talking about, stay tuned. We'll get there eventually.
Eventually.
Yes, eventually we'll get there.
Yes.
So, Brett, just curious, is there any interesting thoughts, feelings you have being the big brother in this situation?
Well, the big brother, I was Eric in all of these situations. I was the first one of my brothers to head off to college. I was the first brother to get married. So, I mean, I was Eric heading off, and I didn't have close friendships type relationships with my brothers when I was, before I embarked on that journey. Since then, one of my two brothers I have been able to build a much stronger friendship relationship with. But I can see, looking back, I can see some of that Cory and Eric type of distance that was probably there. I mean, we've never sat down and talked about it, but I can look back and I can see that it was probably there. But I was Eric in those situations, and that wasn't something that I, in that time, had ever really thought much about, because I was 4 years older than the first brother and 7 years older than the second. So, but yeah, it was different for me. I was Eric.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just going to make an assumption. You can definitely tell me I'm wrong, but I'm sure in your mind you had great moments with your siblings, that you took the time with them and got to have these special things, and potentially in your siblings' mind, similar to how I felt, of like, well, I was a last option. Like, you didn't really have a choice. You had to be around me, So I'm sure those type of dynamics always came into play, but it's just those awkward things you just don't talk about.
Oh, I'm sure we don't really do a lot of deep dives into all of that, but I'm sure that we have different perspectives on what it was like.
Yeah. Well, similar with you guys and trying to help your teenagers work through these things, we're already seeing jealousy with Grayson and the way he sees and is interacting with his brother. And, we try to have conversations with him on as much as we possibly can as, hey, you're the big brother. Part of that means that you're going to do things before your little brother. And there are going to be times when you need to just accept that mommy and daddy have to focus more on your brother. But we trust you and we love you, and we also are going to need your help, and he's going to lean on you.
Yep.
It's fascinating seeing that little brother love for the big brother at such a young age, because I'll watch as Henry is literally just looking around and being like, Papa! 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 I'm like, Grayson, answer your brother. It's like, he wants to be around you. Just go be around him.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. I remember those types of days.
But I do love as they're saying goodbye to to Eric the next day, and Amy's like, "Can I make you breakfast? Can I fix you some toast, some pancakes, muffins, pizza?"
You just want me to stay around till the freezer's empty.
Yeah. But I know that you're not ready to talk about this, but those complicated emotions of you did your job. The bird is ready to leave the nest. And Sarah hates it when I bring up how long it will be until Grayson's at that stage, but it's a terrifying thing.
Oh yes, it definitely will be. Yeah, Kelly and I don't like to think about those days, but we have a 16-year-old. We're only a couple of years away from the first one leaving the nest, so yeah, we are only a couple of years away from that terror. As Kelly would say, shh, don't say evil things.
Isn't she going to graduate at 17?
Yes, but she plans on taking a gap year.
Well, that's fair.
Yes. So, yeah, Eric wants to say goodbye to Cory, but Cory slept on the couch because he was embarrassed because of what happened on the previous night. But he's not still on the couch. Apparently, he left early. And Eric wants Alan and Amy to give him a hug for him, but it won't be the same. And Alan wants to talk a little bit more. And I did clip part of this.
Eric, now it's, just going off to college, then it's going to be, just getting married, just having kids. But you know that you will never be the same brothers you were upstairs, sharing that room.
I'm the older brother. It's not my fault I'm the older brother.
Yes, but it's not Cory's fault that he's the younger brother who never understood why your buddies and your girlfriends always seem to be more important to you than him.
He's 3 years younger than me. I mean, he's got his own girlfriend. He's got his own buddies. I bet he understands me better now.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot more in common now.
Yeah, I guess we do.
And 3 years isn't that big a difference anymore.
No, I mean, I never really looked at it like that. I guess Cory and I could be friends now.
His girlfriend's leaving him for the summer, and his best friend's leaving him for the summer, and now his brother, who he's never really had a chance to get to know as a friend, is leaving. Forever.
And it finally starts to sink in for Eric. That 3 years is not as big of a gap as it used to be. As much as Cory's been looking for an excuse to fight, and as easily as he's been erasing what they have done together, he does have a point. And that there has been he's had valid points. They've just been buried underneath a lot of I feel type language. But those 3 year gap when Cory was in 6th grade is not the same type of gap now when Eric has just graduated high school. And so I love this scene between the three of them. These are the parenting scenes in this episode that I have wanted all season.
Yeah, and they're literally making up for all of the non-parenting in this one moment alone.
They really are. This one episode alone is making up for a lot of missed opportunities.
It's this and Stormy Nights that are really making up for it. But yeah, no,
they're pulling the parenting weight.
Well, and the thing is too is Eric is also responding to everything so defensively, like justifying his actions. Like when Cory's trying to share his feelings, Eric gets defensive and goes, "You're right, Cor. I'm a horrible big brother, but don't worry, I'm getting out of your way." It's just that complication for both of them, and I love what Alan and Amy say in these moments. You know, he says, "I didn't ask to be the older brother. It's not my fault. It's not Cory's fault. He's the younger brother. And he never understood why you chose your buddies and your girlfriends over him." Yep. And then it's, "Well, he's 3 years younger than me. He has his own buddies. He has his own girlfriends now." And it's like, seems like you guys have more in common than you used to. Seems like that 3 years is no longer as big of a gap.
Yep.
You know, just perfect parenting.
It is. It is.
As much as we may rag on
better.
this show at points, this is like word for word. These are the exact things they need to be saying to their sons.
They're not beating him over the head with a point that he needs to hear. They're walking him to the point as he needs to arrive at it, so that he can come to the realization he needs to realize, and that he can make. They're not telling him so that he can ignore it and need to hear it from someone else. They're walking him to it so that he can realize it on his own and know it for sure.
Right, but they're trying to point out to him, "Hey, we had time to get to know you and love you, and you would share with us your life, and you're walking out the door, and you had years to get to know Cory, and you both blew it, and you both have to live with that now. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be brother roommates anymore. Your relationship will never be the same."
Yeah.
So, I love this, and I will say as well, like, I do think that the relationship of Cory and Eric do get better over time.
It does indeed.
But yeah. Let's just keep moving. Otherwise, I'm going to keep gushing over this moment.
So Morgan comes down and tries to give Fluffers her stuffed bear to Eric. Eric says goodbye to everyone and actually leaves Fluffers on the chair as he's leaving. We switch over to the park where Cory has gone to say goodbye to Topanga, who's having second thoughts about camp. But Cory convinces her, yes, you need to go. It's good for you to go.
Yeah.
Sean came to say goodbye to Cory.
Oh, I was just going to say, I love the complication in this scene because they're starting to... They're showing in this moment of they're ready to mature. They're ready for new things. And I think for Topanga, camp is almost like a last hurrah of her youngness in a way. Because there's a lot of... I know for summer camps, not every summer camp is a 8-week summer camp. They will run 8 weeks, but it's always a week-long camp. That's, for the most part, the dynamics of camp I've worked in. And there is tension with older campers that come and are like, I don't want to hear the cookie cutter basic stuff. Like, you either tell me something that's a little deeper and a little more intense, or I'm not paying attention. Or I've done these things every single time. give me something new to do and like challenge me, please. So I understand for Topanga, she's getting closer. If she's feeling like, am I going to literally do the same exact thing I did last year? I don't know if I want to do that again. And that's fair.
Yep. Very.
Yep.
Yeah. So they all are saying their goodbyes. We find out that Sean's house has the same horn that Cory's grandma's RV did.
La cucaracha.
La cucaracha. And so they leave.
Brett, we have not had a guest star this whole episode.
We
I know we have the
haven't.
bird lady, but like she doesn't say a line.
She's
I don't
not even
think
credited,
she's
because she doesn't have a line. Yeah. We haven't had any guest stars. It's just been
I
the
just
main
keep waiting
cast
for you to
and
be
the
like,
recurring
and this
cast.
person is this, and there is none of that.
There's no one. No. It's all main cast and recurring cast. There's no. They spent all of their guest star cash last week.
Yeah. Gosh, last week.
This
the
is
week before
almost
that,
a
too.
bottle episode if it wasn't for the park set.
I mean, is the park set just a new set that they already planned on having? That's what it feels like.
It's a swing set, but I made a punny.
Nice.
So they Sean and Topanga leave. Cory's playing basketball by himself, and Eric comes along.
Cory Matthews passes.
Apparently
to
he was
Cory
half-
Matthews.
Matthews shoots. Looks like your team could use a little help.
Adding more fuel to
so-
the fire that Cory is bad at basketball.
Yes. He deserved to be on the B team.
Yeah, I did.
So Eric was apparently halfway to Jersey and realized he needed a goodbye from his brother, and they're having a heart to heart, and Cory confesses that he took Eric's letter from NSWSDSU.
Yes.
Eric opens it and finds out he was rejected. He has been rejected from every college he's applied to, even basically what was his safety school. And Cory immediately is starting to try and encourage Eric, that he knows that, he can take some classes close to home. He can get some credits built up, and he can get into a school. He knows he can because he knows who he is.
Yeah.
And they start to do some bonding right then and there.
Yeah.
And
Well, I like that it's an immediate, like, hey, I know you can do this, buddy. Like, I know you got this. I believe in you, and I'm behind you. And I don't think we would have gotten this from Cory if he didn't start getting interested in school and actually trying in school himself. And I love the almost of letting go of all the angst, all the frustration, and the probably potentially guilt of I'm holding on to the thing that is taking you away from me. And so when he's like, yeah, I know you can take some classes, you can do, you can probably retake the SATs. Like, it's one thing to have bad grades, it's another thing to also have a bad test score. Like, there's so many things Eric could have done. And I like he's also saying, I can't believe I thought that I could take off 3.5 years of school and then try to take 2 months to do well enough to go to college.
Yep. Yeah, Eric realizes that he screwed off too much. He goofed off too much, and it caught up to him.
Yeah. This is why he should have been a teacher in Girl Meets World.
So, and that brings us to the trip. Eric's, what's the point of going on the trip? Eric wants to know, and Cory says, you know what, you still need to go.
Yeah, you've earned it.
Eric says, you've earned it. Well, yeah, I'll
It's a
go
once in a
first thing in the
lifetime
morning.
trip.
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime trip. All right, well, yeah, I'll go first thing in the morning. Well, why wait? You got to go home and pack. There's no one I'd rather go with. So we've gone from brothers can't wait to get away from each other. One brother can't wait to get away. One brother is mourning the loss of the brother who's leaving. So now they're going to spend the next 3 months together, touring the country, building that bond that one has not realized they don't have, and one is mourning that they haven't had. And so it's a beautiful arc. And Eric says things always seem to work out for the best, which is a beautiful callback to what Amy told Cory about what's going to happen this summer. And Cory says he's always believed that. Now, this may or may not be true of him because he had to be reminded of it. But in and of itself, this is a callback to what Amy said, and it's a beautiful callback.
Yeah.
And so we get into the tag. Mr. Feeney's helping them plan the trip.
Hold on. Slow your rolls, Brad,
Okay. Slow my roll.
We have to talk about real quick of how important of a moment this is. Because it's in this moment whenever Eric decides this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and he's thinking about the things his parents mentioned to him, that their relationship is never going to be the same, that no matter what they do, there's never going to be another time where they share that room together. And this is kind of the crescendo of a time. Now, we'll see for next season, spoiler alert, for those that don't know yet, they will get another year of being in the same room together and, actually spending more time together. But to get a summer where they're not distracted by their friends, they're not distracted by girls, they're just spending time together, experiencing this country or the world in a way together. And that is a very beautiful thing. So the fact that Eric makes that choice to bring Cory along, it means something. And also, it's a lot safer to be traveling around the country with someone else than just doing it yourself.
Very much so. Always good to have the buddy system at play.
Yeah. I mean, Cory can't drive it, so that does stink, but who knows how they're doing this whole trip anyway, Brett?
Exactly, yeah.
And Eric's junker of a car.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you want her to start, don't you?
Yeah. So, yes, we can go to the tag now, Brett, where they're trying to depart and getting some last-minute advice and scamming some money off of Alan.
Scam some more money off of Dad, yes. Mr. Feeney suggests Boston for the history.
Yes, the Cheers bar. And, maybe they'll know my name.
Yes. A part of the trip is that they'll visit some colleges. Eric throws some names of colleges, some real names: Ball State, Penn State, State, on the way out the door. And Cory wants to know why he would spend the summer of his 15th year visiting colleges. Well, because we're on the way to these places. And he hands Cory a list of a bunch of beaches in Florida.
Myrtle Beach, South Beach, Fort Lauderdale, South.
Yep.
Padre Island, Malibu.
Colleges. Yeah, right.
Smithsonian's.
Yeah, right.
Now, I mean, I will say, if you're doing a trip around America, the Smithsonian's are a solid place to go to because it's free.
Totally.
Like, I would fully recommend them being like, hey, go to at least a couple. Go to one in New York, go to one in D.C.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have a much easier time getting into there than going and doing a tour of the White House, I'll tell you that much.
Totally, yeah. And there we have it. That is the end of season 3.
Yeah.
Tyler, do you have some deep dives for us? And do I have a
kitty cat on my shoulder?
Do I have a deep dive bumper that'll work?
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
Alrighty, let's do this thing. Nope, that's from last week. I don't need those anymore. Alrighty. Let's start with puppets, Brett.
Ooh, puppets.
Because apparently, in 1996, Jim Henson put out a little special to help teach kids how to make their own puppet or Muppet-like creature. So I did not get to watch it, but I just kind of saw there was an article about that where it's a 15 full minutes of him going through the step-by-step process of building a character like a Muppet and all the things you have to do for it. This pre-Sesame Street video aired on public television, on Iowa public television for Volume C's Kids show in 1996. Jim Henson, for those that don't know, is the creator of The Muppets and also Sesame Street. Might be one of the most famous creators of puppet characters and arguably the longest lasting characters out there that are puppets. So you can thank him from Kermit the Frog all the way to Elmo and all the other new characters that come randomly, because it's all because of him. So I do have a custom creations for puppets that a company called Zazzle's Puppet Builders. So they will make a custom made puppet for you. The cost varies between the design that is needed, the materials required, and the type of machinery / labor that is required for said puppet to be made. Every custom puppet is different, so the time that it takes to build a character varies. A typical hand and rod moving puppet takes about 4 to 5 weeks to build, depending upon the design. Or the design process takes 1 to 2 weeks. So, it's one of those things, Brett, that you could argue, where did he get the resources to make a puppet? Where does he get the time to make his own puppet? All of those things come into question. And of course, Brett, as we all know, doesn't matter. The joke is what's important. So I have a bunch of different stuff about traveling through the Americas, so let's put that on hold real quick. What is this? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about basketball. Let's not just basketball just yet. Hold on, teaser. Let's talk about the Olympics, because Cory mentions he's going to do the Olympics. So the Olympics in 1996 were held in Atlanta, Georgia. It's commonly referred to as the Centennial Olympic Games. It was the international. It was held from July 19th through August 4th, 1994. Summer Olympics, so it marked the 100th anniversary of the Olympics starting in 1896. There was 197 different nations that competed, over 10,000 athletes, 6,800 men, and 3,400 women. There's 271 events in 26 different sports. The person that opened the ceremony was the President of the United States, President Bill Clinton. The only big notable thing that I'm looking at right now is, so in 1992, we had the first Dream Team, which featured people such as Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, yeah, Larry Bird. We actually had the Dream Team 2.0, which had people like Shaq, Charles Barkley, and a lot of other high-priced NBA players. Not Michael Jordan. He did his time, and I don't think Scottie Pippen was on this team either. I did not look at who's actually on that list. So, but yeah, no, the Bulls were a little bit busy going into this time period.
A little bit.
Which leads me, Brett, into discussing about the 1996 Bulls. You see, Brett, and maybe some of the good-looking people don't know, but I bring this up because Cory's playing basketball, and I've been wanting to talk about this, and I think this is a good opportunity to do so. In 1994, the season right before following the 1993 season, Michael Jordan had a unfortunate situation where his father passed away. He was murdered, and he felt he needed to leave basketball because he didn't have motivation, and he needed to step aside because he was dealing and he was grieving. In 1995, there was a lockout in the MLB, Major League of Baseball. And Jordan got an itch to go play basketball because he is the world's greatest basketball player ever. So clearly you're going to have an itch to go do the thing you're the best at. Starts going to some practices, starts playing around, and basically his whole team is like, so what's the deal? And they put a press release out, and Michael Jordan wrote it himself, and it's just 2 words, I'm back. So yeah, March 19th, 1995, he returned to basketball. Now, he was not the same man, and they did make it to the playoffs, but they lost to the Magic. That was when Shaq was being very dominant as a new man on campus. The next season, however, Brett, was a big different story. You see, they signed a player named Dennis Rodman, and then the Bulls decided to go 72-10, which in the basketball world is a huge deal. It's essentially like going 15-1 in the NFL, or now 16-1.
Yep.
So they are unstoppable, essentially, and there's just a few games where they don't win, but I have no idea what the scores are in those games, but I'm assuming they weren't blown out in those games. So I'll also say that Michael Jordan played in every single game, and the only other player I'm looking at who played in every single game was Steve Kerr, the current coach of the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, Michael Jordan was the MVP that season, and everybody was just having a good season that year. And they went on to win the 1996 championship. So this is the start of the second three-peat that Michael Jordan and the Bulls had, because they won 3, 1991, 1992, 1993, and then they came back 1996, 1997, 1998.
Which could explain potentially some of our ratings drop off.
I honestly probably think that is a part of it, because this is May, and we're getting right into that season of basketball, and it's coming to a close. And, you know, Friday night is a hard night. It's a hard sell. There is other things going on. There is other live events that they're competing against. And, of course, as the weather gets nice, especially in the 90s, it was hard to keep people watching stuff. You know, people were doing stuff. People were all over the place.
Actually went outside and did stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, we talked about this too. Is that because of the way that streaming services work now, there are people that don't watch things live anymore on quote unquote television because they could watch it later on streaming, or they're watching stuff that's not going to be on television because they don't have cable anymore. So shows can be a success with just 1 million viewers, which is a crime compared to what this show is getting. But back in the 90s, the ratings that they're getting is not great. Although today, that would be a killing.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating just the change in television and how all that looks. So, say I have 4 different things for traveling around the United States. So let's just see what I can glean from each of them, and you may have to do a little bit of magic editing to this to make it all look right. So from what I'm looking at, Brett, some people had posted like after they did a trip of what it all looked like. So, traveling all 48 states. The person that wrote this said that it was roughly about 6,813 miles, starting at South Berwick, Maine, and ending at Taft, Montana. Time was about 142 hours. So it's about 2.6 hours per continuous states. It says if one can maintain an average speed of 55 miles and have the need to stop and rotate fresh drivers, it theoretically is possible to visit all continuous states of the United States in under the 124 hours. But I don't think it's recommended. Yeah, I mean the only way to make it also work to go to Hawaii and Alaska would be to fly there. But honestly, once you're in on the West Coast, to fly to Hawaii or Alaska would not be a huge deal.
No.
So, I mean, it would be hard for 2 just out of high school and still in high school people to do it, but if 2 adults were purposefully trying to take the summer to go to all 50 states, theoretically they could do it.
Yeah.
So let's address this real quick. Did you know that gas prices are more expensive now than they were in the 90s?
Get out of town.
Yeah. Do you want to guess, Brett, what gas prices were in 1996?
Depending on the part of the country, I'm going to guess 98 cents a gallon.
So on average, it's what I have is $1.23. So, I mean, to take that into account of roughly the difference in that compared to now, like anytime we do a trip, I just take a generalized like $3, and that roughly covers between going from the different states and also gives us a little bit of leeway too. But if you're only considering $1.25 essentially per gallon, if you're filling up a tank that's 16 gallons, it's not going to cost that much to fill that up.
No.
Compared to now.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I remember when my parents would be like $20, and that would basically fill up the tank.
I remember those days too.
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm
I miss
like,
those days.
don't even tell me the number. Just make sure I'm full.
Yeah.
So I have here, let's end with this. Someone did basically going to all the 48 states, that is not Alaska and Hawaii included, in a solo drive. And it took them about 62 days, which is comparable to what the guys did. I think next season they'll say like it's day 58 or something like that. But on the road for a while.
Yeah.
And so what this person said is, so roughly they spent about 1,100 on gas. They're using a hybrid vehicle to go along. And they said that if they used a SUV like that gets 15 miles per gallon, it would have been closer to $3,000 that they would have been spending on gas, which is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they did also say, like, taking into account, like, they did do an oil change, they did need a new oil filter, like, so that costs money. Mm-hmm. And that's fair, because when you're ranking up that many miles, it would cost you, and you would need to take care of that. They apparently need to get 4 new tires at one point when they're in New Mexico. I don't fully understand why, but they said they needed to, so they did. So for lodging, this person had broken down that they had stayed at some friends and family's house for like 12 nights. They only got a hotel for like 7 nights, slept in a tent for 6, and then the rest of the time they were just sleeping in their vehicle, which, it would make sense knowing that their family is into camping, that they would take tents with them, or at least one tent with them, and they would just camp out as often as they can. It is the summertime, so if they go and they're driving around and they find a spot that they can go pitch a tent, I could see them doing that. Or just sleeping in their car, also an option. And then they said for eating purposes, it cost them about $1,000, which, they're only eating for themselves, so that's not that crazy. So for their rough conclusion, they spent, just shy of like $3,000 for this whole trip. Now, I didn't do the basic math of this, Brett, but I'm just going off of a headcanon of Eric probably had about $1,000 saved up. Either that was just him saving up that money or his parents contributing to it. Like, I'm kind of going off of this assumption of, like, instead of having a graduation party and spending money on a party, his parents just said, we will help you do something after you graduate. If you want to go travel, we'll give you money to go travel. If you want to go to Europe, we'll, help you do that. So I'm thinking that he's going around with, like, basically $1,000 in his pocket. And then with Cory now being added to that, they probably gave him an extra, like, $500, something like that, of a mixture of Cory's own money and also his parents, chipping into that as well. So in the 90s, if they have roughly like $1,500, I think they could do it. That would be a stretch as adults for us to do that now. But, if they are able to stay at a motel on the last day and they still potentially have money for a bus fare and going to a diner, like, they still clearly have a little extra money that they're willing to spend, so they're not strapped for cash right at the end. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also TV magic, Brett.
Oh, totally. And it is the heightened reality world of Boy Meets World, so.
Yeah, exactly. Where a beater car can make it all the way across all 48 states. Or for Eric, 50.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Brett, of course, those are the Season 3 deep dives.
All right. So let's talk about what we learned.
You know anything about the Odyssey?
Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach her that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Oh, that's what it is.
Tyler,
I can't
what
remember.
did you learn?
Oh boy. Probably knowing when to pick your battle for hard discussions. And that's both as a sibling, as the child of, as a parent of, you know, and not trying to bring your own emotions into those discussions, you know, finding ways to have discussions without taking into the fact of, I am emotional right now, I am upset right now, my hair is sticking up, you know, trying to so much of this could have been talked out a lot sooner, and it's like they waited till the last minute when people were at a heightened state, and Cory really ignored those feelings that he could have talked up and brought up, and he didn't. So I truly do think that dream he had has been eating away at him, and now it's just kind of explosion.
Yeah.
What'd you learn, Brett? Or relearn?
Well, it kind of piggybacks on some of that idea that it's important to learn when to slow walk your kids to a realization they need to know. Mm-hmm. That sometimes it's important to be blunt with your kids and tell them something they need to know. And sometimes it's important to walk them to the realization like Alan and Amy did with Eric. They didn't just flat out tell him first right away, hey, this is what you need to know. They encouraged him to take time to figure it out. They walked through some key things with him, and in the end, they walked him through point by point, even as he was being defensive on every point, and walked him through the point of realization that this is exactly what's going on. And there are times where, as a parent, you're going to need to do that with your kids. Mm-hmm. And it's important to figure out when is it necessary to do something like that versus when is it necessary to sit your kid down and say, look, here's exactly what's going on and here's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll also say this. I didn't get to talk about this while we were going through the episode, but there's an intensity to their parenting this episode that we haven't seen in a while. And we're going to see this more next season. And I think that we're going to see, and I think we're going to have great discussion on next season of the type of parenting that they're doing. And also it could be because they're going through their own struggles, and that's coming more to the forefront as well. So I'm really curious, especially as we get into, the first episode of the next season, because I was watching, it started right after I got done with this one. I was writing some stuff down, and it just started playing. I was like, gosh, this next season, so good.
Oh, yes.
The B plot, spoiler alert, is an Alan and Amy story.
Oh, yeah. I always love a good Alan and Amy story.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sorry, go ahead.
So is that it? Done with my education?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Go?
I was just giggling for something from the next season, but we're not there yet.
So how would you grade Brother?
Is that even a question?
Well, we have to ask the question.
Oh, fair. It's an A+. I mean, it's just, the last 4 weeks I've given an A+. And it really came down to when we had that discussion of episode 19 this season, of this weird little saga of these 4 episodes, and just how well they all work to establish who these people are going to be moving forward. Because normally, We have the reset. The episode 1. Episode 1 of the season is the reset, and we're getting a 4-season build-up to that reset, essentially. Yes, next season Cory will come back, and he will look like he is 5 months older, not 2 months older, and Topanga is going to somehow get taller, and Sean is going to stay exactly who he is. But there's just this weird, instead of resetting right away next season, this is the point of the reset. And I'm blown away at how much I love this 4-episode little chunk, and also just how disrespectful the 90s was of this little chunk as well. So
yeah.
Yeah. But I can't wait to get to next season, Brett. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's going to be an A+ for me as well.
Thank you.
Really...
Thank you.
There's really not any weaknesses in it for me. It's strong wire to wire. Even the only complaint that I have in it being that Cory is misremembering and is, I mean, that's what a 15-year-old boy would do. I mean, it's true to life.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen 15-year-old boys do that. I've been a 15-year-old boy who's done that. And so there's absolutely no reason for me to give this anything less than an A+, because it's right there. We've sang its praises for the last 90 minutes. I mean, it's an A+.
This may be one of the most gushed over episodes we've ever had.
It might be.
I think a lot of that has to do with just such strong parenting, though. Like, I do feel bad because Feeney and Turner and Eli are really just window dressing this episode.
They really are.
And Sean and Topanga really don't play a huge factor besides the fact that they're leaving and they're considering growing up. But just having a storyline that is concentrated on the Matthews family dynamics is just terrific. So again, there's more things positively we could say about this episode.
It's something we've seen so little of this season. It's good to have.
It is.
And I'm glad that we got to end this season with it focused on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the Matthews is put on all the heavy weights and said, "We will have great parenting this season."
We haven't been around much, but guess what? We're bringing it all at once.
Woof, woof, woof.
Saving it up.
Dad, you're embarrassing me.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, I have a dad joke for you.
Yes, hit me.
Did you know if you spell the words absolutely nothing backwards, you get United Yeljosoba, which ironically means absolutely nothing.
Nice. I hear dogs barking.
I do too. I'm kind of surprised that they're still out there. But anyway, good looking people. That is our episode. Woohoo! And our coverage of season 3. We I believe we'll have our traditional wrap-up season coverage next week.
Yep.
Yep. We'll look back at our season as a whole, and we'll look at all our grades and make Tyler laugh as I show him my graphs with all of our little heads all over it.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Exactly. So come back next week to hear us talk all about season 3 as a whole, and until then, you can follow us online at across all our social channels at dadsmeetworld, across Twitter/X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you can follow us on YouTube at dadsmeetworld, and you can pick up some pretty sweet swag at threadless.com/dadsmeetworld. That's right. Is that everything? Oh, no. You can send us an email at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com.
Yep.
And you can leave us a review, a positive, glowing review, so we can spread the dad love at Apple Podcasts.
I got an idea, Brett. Tell us where you would like to take a road trip to, or what state you really want to visit in the great states of America.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, Brett, see you good looking.
See you good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios, tell your story.